special treat for you today. Special treat for me. Single wide mobile home roof over. Literally my favorite roofing project ever. Get to get in, get out, no fuss, no muss. Brand new, high quality roof. And metal roof on a project like this makes these homes so much cooler. And we are also adding bubble wrap on top of that. So we're doing bubble wrap, 1x4 lathing, and metal. So we got an air gap, a reflective barrier, and metal itself, which is much more reflective than shingles. Shingles absorb all the heat, so dramatically decreases the heat on these houses, which homeowners love. So first things first, we're doing some prep. We've got these, so I'm going to repurpose those. Got a little flex hose on them. Took the nails out. I'm going to clean those up, maybe spray paint them. Pipe boots need to come off. Got the pipe boot off. I'm going to keep it here and put it on if I don't get the metal on there today, because we do get pop-up showers. Cut back the shingles on the edge, and I gotta cut this drip edge off with a saw. Sometimes they just staple it and you can rip it off with your hand. This stuff's nailed like fire. All right, we had some ridge vent. Take that off. I'm gonna open this up a little bit more and get myself about 20 feet of ridge vent. And then of course, we gotta cut these shingles back on the edge here because they stick out too far for our corner to hug that. So the drip edge can stay, but the shingles got to come off. So I got a little more prep to do here. Get everything cleaned up, blown off, and then we'll be ready to put some bubble wrap on. So phase one is prep and layout and all that stuff. So let me get to work. Okay, prep is done. Got the shingles cut back on the edge. Took a junk blade on my saw, ran it down the edge here, cut the drip edge and shingles off. So that's good. And ready to put my my bubble wrap on. So there we go. Okay, we got the bubble on. Nice old radiant barrier. This house is cooler already. So now we are ready for 1x4. Yeah, okay. Not a lot to see here. Let's get going on the 1x4. I just stapled this because the 1x4 is going to hold it all down. I decided to go up and over. That way my fasteners aren't going to tear out as opposed to running it long ways. But hey, if you want to run a long ways, knock yourself out. Add a couple extra fasteners at the top just so it doesn't rip. And they modified bubble wrap. This is a new stuff. It's a little bit thinner, but it is fiber reinforced. So I am a big fan. Thank you. The other stuff was just plastic and it was dangerous. So good on you. You don't have to do bubble wrap. I've done 1x4 directly over shingles and it's all good. But if you want some extra bounce back, it should be great ROI on your cooling bill in the summer. I bet this stuff would pay for itself within a year or two. So let's get going on the 1x4. And the downside of bubble wrap is you can't chalk a good line on it. I am going to try, see if I can, but the gutter board is pretty straight. So I am going to stick my square on there and just bump my 1x4 up to the bottom of it, and that should do the trick. And then I'll use spacer boards to go 2 foot on center up to the top. And you'll notice that I did not take off the caps, and I'm going to put my final 1x4 here, run the metal past, and then use stitch screws for the ridge cap. So I'll have screws here holding the metal down, and then stitch the cap because it'll land about here. So I'll detail that coming up. Let's go. Okay, pass load. So got my bottom board tacked on all the way down, got the rest of my pieces spaced and laid out. So 2 foot on center. If you pull from the bottom one, it's going to hit at 24. So center to center is going to be 24. That's how we're going to space our screw lines. We are going to pre-drill and line this up on the left side. Move these bad boys up to the next run. And then make sure I'm over here. And then drop it down gently without cranking our spacers too much. Okay, so we're good. This is a terrible view. I apologize. And if I didn't have this camera hanging around my neck, I'd be working faster too. I think my head's out of the game right now. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to do that on all of them and then come back and fill in all the nails, and my 1x4 will be done. Touch back in a second. Okay, everything's tacked. Just for your viewing pleasure, I'm at 48 1/4 there, 6 foot and 3/8. So my spacer boards probably were a little large. Make them just shy of 20 1/2 rather than more generous, and that'll help keep those more at a true 2 foot. But for a span this short, it's going to work great. And on nailing, I'm going for quantity over quality on this. Try not to nail right in the center because that is where your screw line is going to go. And then my 1.5 inch screws are going to go through 3/4 pine and then 1/2 inch OSB underneath. So I got 1.25 inch wood underneath this. All my screws are going to tie this down on top of these ring shank nails. So a lot of people like to screw these 1x4s down. Make sure you hit the purlin or the rafters. That's fantastic if you want to do that. Most definitely stronger than just throwing a nail every foot, but I think this is good enough. So that's what I do. Okay, let me finish nailing all this, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish this side as well. Then we'll be ready to put drip edge on, pre-drill our metal, and prep for the metal. Let's do it. All right, finished my lunch break right after I finished the 1x4. So a couple things here. Wherever you got a penetration, you're going to be kneeling in this area to put the pipe boot on and whatnot. So I just throw a couple scraps in there to help support the metal underneath. Just throw a couple scraps in there, it helps. Over here in the corners, I like to throw a little scrap in here just to support this, because down at the bottom, when you step here, because it's the end of a sheet, this is the easiest spot to crinkle a rib. And I'm going to be putting a corner on here, so I'm going to be standing there. I just like an extra little board there, and if I've got extra 1x4, I'll run scraps all the way down that bottom row. But not necessary. Just be careful down there, and I will probably show you, but step here when you're screwing the metal as opposed to here, and you'll be fine. So now that we're good here, we're gonna put some drip edge on. Let's do it. All right, first piece of drip edge on, and wanted to make sure it was hanging far enough past the drip edge so it's not actually tight to my 1x4. That's cool. Just keep it consistent, and I put 3 nails in it because my screws are going right through the center of that. So it's going to be held down tight by my metal screws. Run it past the edge about 3/4 or an inch, and that will finish out your corner detail a lot better. So let's run this past the edge about yay far, and I can always trim it off. So that looks pretty good out there. Nice, nice, nice. Boom. So this is pretty easy. Keep it rolling. Give yourself about 2 inches of overlap. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, I won't bore you with the rest of this, but that's how you do that. Put a couple nails in it, hang it past the edge, 2 inches overlap, yada yada. Drip edge is on. I am ready for panels. Boom. Okay, when laying out panels, you don't want to just go guns a-blazing. Think about it for a second. Driveway there, you're going to pull in, highly visual roof here. The laps are visible on these panels. So if I start here and lap this way, you're going to see each and every lap. So if I start over there, then all the laps are pointing into the forest. So I want to start over here, and I'm going to pop a line on this drip edge right where I'm putting my screws, and it actually helps if you pull it from there to there. It's going to give me a better snap on this end that's more precise, because I'm going to use that chalk line to square up my first panel. So on this, I'm going to do 1 inch of overhang, and I want to be in the center of my 1x4 which is gonna be 1 3/4 inches. So this is hard to do. I'm gonna get my... Okay, so 1 3/4 inches is the center of my 1x4, so that's right there. 2 1/4 from there. We're gonna call it 3 1/4. So if I measure, hang my metal over 1 inch, I'm gonna be at 3 1/4. So let's go ahead and smack a nail right there. And go to the other side. Okay. Nice. I can barely see it, so I'm going to re-snap this half so I can get a better line. But that's how you do it. And one last thing before you start smacking panels on here. In case you missed it, I came down 1 3/4 from the top of that 1x4, which is the center of the 1x4. That way it doesn't jack up my screw lines, so that I can be hitting the center of my screw lines all the way up. So I got a chalk line at my screw lines, and I pulled from here. That would be about the center of my rib if I ran the panel flush with the edge. Measured over 21 foot to here. And if you didn't know, that little groove hooks on perfect to a nail. When you're working solo, you gotta have tricks like that. So that's 21 foot, 3 foot increments. So that'll be 7 panels to there. Measured another 21 foot to my next nail right there. Measured over, and 15 foot is right here. So this is gonna be a rib. Now if there was a rib right here, that would be a problem. Where'd my corner go? Okay, I brought a piece of corner. There it is. So if your ribs land out in a funky place, your corner's gonna be funky too, which is not what you want, especially on the front of the house where everybody's gonna see it. So your ribs are 9 inches apart. They're also 3 foot apart. So that's my rib, that's my corner. Perfect, beautiful. So just be careful, and like if that was gonna be right there, I could have pushed my panels over, my first one, so that it just doesn't land out in a weird spot. So I'm good to go. I'm gonna go pre-drill a stack of panels, which 7, 14, 19, and a strip. So I'm gonna pre-drill 19 panels for this side, and then I'll be ready to install them. Pre-drilled. I think it's going to make more sense for me to talk about my placement when the panel's up on the roof, but I used my spare bit to keep my panels in place, made sure the bottoms of my panels were lined up nice, and I double screw the bottom because that gets the most wind. I like to screw those down real tight. This goes underneath because that lap supports the rib. If you put this rib underneath, it just floats. So anyway, that goes on top and that goes underneath. So yeah, one tip when you're drilling is stand on top of the spot that you're drilling to keep these pieces together, and then put your hand on top of the drill and like really support that, and you won't break that many bits if you're good. So get my spare bit out of there, and we're ready to put our first panel on. That's right, do not get ahead of yourself. Put panels on before you're ready. I just spent, it is like 1:30 right now. I took a little lunch break, been here since 8:30, so I spent 4.5 hours just getting to the point where I can put my first panel on. But now that I have all the prep work done, the panels are going to go even faster, and I won't have to come back and fix anything, stop the progress. So probably need some water before I get up there and start working on this. Okay, first panel, and I've already got a penetration. So I measured out to the center of it, and I'm cutting a 4-inch hole. One way of doing it. My putty knife. Get that hole started. Then finish her out with the snippers. And if these weren't offset snips, wouldn't have been able to do that. So if you ain't got offset snips, then where you even at? So, okay, we're good. Get this panel, make sure your rib's lined up there where you want it on the edge, and take your time to make sure you really got that lined up with the top of the chalk line. Once you got that lined up with the chalk line, get your little pencil mark right there. Another little pencil mark up at the top. Then you can drop this down to where you want it. And line it up with the top, line it up with the bottom, and then make sure you're at your proper overhang, which is going to be 3 1/4 to the chalk right there. So this guy's good to go. Screw it. First panel on. Can't put my second panel on yet because it's always something. So line up. I'm at 3 1/4 on my chalk line. So we're gonna call it 43 1/4 to the center of the pipe. And then I'm gonna measure center of the rib, center of the pipe, 19 3/4. Okay, let's transfer those measurements over to here. $43 1/4. And 19 3/4. Center of the pipe, center of the rib. Beautiful. One more time, in case you missed it. That'll tear you to shreds, like it did my arm. Had to reach through that hole to fish that pipe out of the attic. Oh, battle scars. You know, that was satisfying. All right, while we're here, let's talk about how to put these panels on. Always walk in the flats. Don't step on a rib or it will crunch. Okay. Get those centered. And you just want to put mild pressure on the top of the rib. Key thing is same amount of pressure on the top and the bottom, because if you really shove on this, or if it's not quite tight, that'll knock you out a square 16th every time. So just mild pressure on the rib, that'll squish them ribs down tight. And then don't squish anything, don't move anything, just let it sit here and get some more screws in the other side. So if I got like a crew or something, one person will just tack the panel in place. You just need 4 screws, and then you can just keep running them. And the way you know you're square is if you can see your chalk line through the pre-drilled holes. Beautiful. So you don't got to measure anything. Just make sure they keep seeing that chalk line. So now I can do a few more panels till I hit my next penetration. So fun times, fun times.